Good. I really did. I thought Quentin played well. I thought both of our tackles played better. I thought our offensive line played better. We were certainly more efficient running the football. I felt like most of the evening our protections were good. I felt like we Josh could have done a little better job, I think, staying in the pocket at times and getting the ball to continuing to go through his reads and go through his progressions. I thought for the most part it was a clean pocket. They got us once or twice on a blitz where we cut somebody loose, but I thought the overall line play I thought was much improved. I thought Ben played significantly better than he had played in a while, and I thought Quentin played better. And I think the thing that was disappointing for me was, the 21 points basically that we gave them offensively, the two defensive touchdowns and then the interception deep in our own end, kept us from really being in the ball game. That took us out of the ball game and took away our ability to turn it into a competitive football game. Eric McAllister did a great job down the stretch of making some plays, and Josh did a good job of kind of battling his way out of it. But by that time, I think it was too little too late. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to get these games into the second half, just like we did against Colorado, without making catastrophic mistakes and turning the ball over, and then at that point let our guys go win the game. And I think we did it against a good SMU team. We did it against a good Colorado team, and we failed to do it against Arizona State, and we failed to do it against Kansas State. And so we've got to get that part of it fixed. You look at the Big 12. That's what these games come down to. You look at Baylor's games have all come down to, for the most part, to the end of the football game. You look at the way the conference played out over the weekend. Most of the games came down to the last possession of the game. And so many of these games right now are being won by the team that makes the fewest mistakes. You look at NFL football. I got home late last night and turned the TV on and watched the end of the football game last night. And, and these are the best players in the world playing. And, the Commanders fumble an exchange, have the game virtually won, fumble an exchange, and then, and end up getting beat because of it. And so that's football. That's the way games are won and lost now, and it's a lot different than it used to be, and I think we've talked about it before, where you used to have 14, 15 possessions in a game. You had to go outscore somebody, and now, the game is basically won by the team that makes the fewest mistakes, and that's got to be us.
Sonny, obviously, top two quarterbacks passing-wise, not only in the Big 12 but nationally this week. You look at two Texas kids that both kind of had to wait their time when they're at. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think I know Sawyer pretty well. I know his father well. We played sports against each other growing up. His dad grew up in Plainview, was a first-round draft pick in baseball, a lot better baseball player than I was. But we've known each other for a long time, and we tried to recruit Sawyer here when he left Mississippi State, and so there's a relationship there, and Josh and Sawyer are remarkably similar young men. They're both young people that have a strong faith. They're both young people that have strong families. They come from athletic families. Both successful guys and guys that, as you said, had to do things the right way. And they're to me what college athletics is all about. They kind of had to wait their turn a little bit, and they got an opportunity, and when they got it, they made the most of it. And so really proud of Sawyer. Like I said, he's just a first-class kid in every sense of the word. Root for him every Saturday, except for this Saturday. And he's a winner, and he's made that program better. And, credit to Dave Aranda and their staff, Jake Spavital, the offensive coordinator. They've done a really good job of developing him. And as you said, he's turned into one of the top quarterbacks, not only in the Big 12, but in college football. Not a whole lot as a kid, no, just because, I was kind of moving around all over the place, but kind of kept up with him, and he went to Coronado High School there in Lubbock, which is where I graduated from, and so I was aware of him getting recruited, and Mike Leach recruited him, which I thought was a great fit. Sawyer's, was Mike Leach's kind of kid, and And anyway, that's kind of that. Yeah. I think one of the things that Baylor's done a really good job of is running the football. I mean, they're very, very balanced in what they want to do. They've got two strong physical running backs. I think their offensive line has a lot of experience, and you looked at the game last year, it kind of boiled down to their ability to run the ball down the stretch, and they strung a drive together at the end of the game last year to beat us. And to me, that was the difference in the game, was their ability to run it and our inability to do it, and our inability to get it stopped. And so that's going to be big for us Saturday. That's the thing that good offenses do, is they test you both. Both you have to stop both running the ball and throwing the football, and so it's going to be a big test for us. And to me, the most physical team and the team that wins the battle up front is probably the team that's going to win on Saturday, and the one that limits the turnovers and wins that battle is going to win.
You guys played some pretty athletic quarterbacks.
We have, yep.
Is this Baylor group possibly the most talented y'all faced this year?
I think so. I think when you look at their skill players, yes. I think just from a depth standpoint, yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, I just think I really like their tight end. They've got size and physicality at wide receiver. They've got speed at wide receiver. As I said earlier, the running backs are physical and run tough, and they do a good job of grinding the run game out, and then those guys will pop some big plays. And so, yeah, I mean, I think when you sit down and just look at the overall skill, yeah, this is the best offense we played. Yeah, that's been the Achilles heel for us. Yeah, that's a good observation. I mean, we've done a good job on first and second down, and historically, that's kind of Andy Avalos's magic has been third down. Where he can dial up some blitzes and get after the quarterback and scheme things up, and that's. That's something that I thought in the preseason would be a strength, and it hasn't turned out that way. And there's a variety of reasons why, and obviously it's something that we're trying to get addressed, and I know that we will. We've just got to continue to find ways to get off the field on third down, and part of it has been we've played some really athletic quarterbacks, and you're a little damned if you do and damned if you don't type of thing against those guys. You bring pressure and you don't fit it up right. All of a sudden you look up and you got a quarterback running, 20, 30 yards on third down. Or, you say, okay, we want to play a lot of man coverage and challenge these throws and not make anything easy. Well, then quarterback takes off and you have guys with their back turned to the offense and results in big plays. And so it's just been one of those things that, again, we're working hard to get it fixed. We know it's an issue. We anticipate getting it fixed and think that, from where we are now to where we end the season, it's going to turn into a strength of ours.
When you look at Josh's stats, quarterbacks are going to play better at home. He struggled a little bit on the road this year.
Yeah.
What do you test?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think part of it has just been, getting into tough games and tough situations, and we just, for whatever reason, we have turned the ball over at that point. And again, it's not always on Josh. I mean, I think we all want to put it on the quarterback, and that's the easiest place to put it. But there's always, you look at the backwards pass the other day that was recovered, for a return for a touchdown. There's a lot wrong there. Our tackle block's the wrong guy. Josh has to adjust his arm angle a little bit, throws the ball. Ed could have caught the ball. Ed should have been closer to the line of scrimmage. All the things like that. And that's just, that's a catastrophic play that should never happen. And it's like I said after the game, and we've done it 1,000 times. We've never been close to throwing a lateral. But you got to do it 1,001. You can't let that thing happen to you in that critical situation. And it just seems like for whatever reason, that's happened to us. We've made critical mistakes in really close football games on the road this year, and we've got to get that fixed.
This is one of the 4 protected games.
Yep.
Big 12. You've been a part of rivalry games multiple places. One, do you like that it's protected? 2, when's the perfect time to play?
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought you want to play your rivalry games at the end of the year if you can make it work. I like the fact that it's protected. I think it's important. I think it's important to both institutions. I think partly because of the history of the institutions. It makes sense. We're in the same league, obviously, and that makes it easy to play the game, and makes sense for us to play the game. I'm glad it's protected. I just think that you want to, you want to play those games, and they're important to fans, and they're important to donors, and they're important to everybody, and they're important to our players. Our guys are going to know a lot of the Baylor players and going to have competed against them or played with them on teams, and so it's always going to mean a little bit more when you're familiar with somebody. What was the second part of that question? Yeah, play them at the end of the season. Yeah, I've always thought that. I just think it just gives it a little bit more significance if you can do that. I think that's just part of history. It seems like that those old rivalry games were played at the end of the year, and were always big games. And I thought, again, it just added a little something to it. Scheduling in the Big 12 is complicated. That was easy to do back when conferences were 8 to 10 teams, and maybe 12 teams. Now you've got these conferences that are huge, and you have the ACC that's got an odd number of teams, and imagine what scheduling's like in that league. And so, it makes things more difficult, but yeah, in a perfect world, I think we would play the last game of the season.
You guys anticipate getting Limmerman back anytime soon?
We're hoping to. I think in the next couple of weeks. I'm starting to feel better about our kicking situation. I really am. I think we're making progress, and I think we're all gaining confidence. And so, I expect us to kick the ball well. I think we kicked off better this past week than we had. Thought we were much more consistent. It's just about getting some game experience, and I'm optimistic about our kicking.
When you look at Baylor's defense, their rushing defense hasn't been particularly great. You look at the development of your rushing attack. How many?
Yeah, we're going to have to run the ball. It's going to be a good matchup. You know what I mean? And they're going to be focused on stopping the run because they think I'm sure they know that there's an emphasis for us to try to continue to run the football and be more efficient running the football. And as I said, we took a step in the right direction the other night. It's not anywhere close to where it needs to be, but I think we're headed there. So we just have to. We got to continue to do it, and it should be a big challenge. That's going to the line of scrimmage when they have the ball and when we have the ball is going to be very, very important, and to me, going to determine who wins the game.
Coach, we saw Joseph Manjack go out. Ed Small stepped up this game, but we expect to see Ed. Is Major one of those guys that we could expect to see?
Yeah, I think you'll see Major more this week than you have. It's like anything else. Your depth starts to show, and Major's had to fill in, has had to play a little bit outside at times this year, and has had to play inside, and it's always the same. You get to midseason, and you've got to have depth, and you've got to have guys that can play multiple positions, and I think Major will continue to have a bigger role in what we're doing on offense.
When you look at kind of the big picture of the Big 12, every game is obviously important. But
Yep.
You've got 2 losses. Teams are trying to separate themselves. Just kind of what's
Yeah, the league it's crazy. It's college football is crazy. The league's crazy. It's really kind of unprecedented what's happening right now, not only in the Big 12 but just across the landscape of college football. You had the preseason number 1 team was Texas, and they were out of the top 25 4 weeks into the season or 5 weeks into the season. Obviously, you had Penn State that was, head-to-head with Oregon. And loses 2 games following that game, and there's a coaching change and all the things that happen there. The business has always been unusual, kind of to say the least, and it's even more unusual now than it has been, and that's what parity does, and that's what people have to get used to. Is there's just going to be more parity. It's going to be more like the NFL, which I think is a great thing for college football. I think what Indiana's done is great for the game. I thought what we did in 22 was really good for the game. And it's good to see programs emerge and become relevant And so I think it's great for college football when that happens. And it's going to be challenging for the teams that are used to winning, 11, 12, 13 games a year. It's just going to be more difficult to do that because there's not any layups. And it's certainly that way in the Big 12. You know what I mean? When we play these games, and all you have to do is look at the outcome of the games week in and week out. Half the games are decided on pretty much the last possession. And, the Big 12 was the only team probably in college football where it was that way for a long time. I think the SEC is starting to become more like that. You look at the SEC now, some of the teams that have historically been really bad are competitive and are beating some people and are taking some of those teams that are used to blowing those teams out into the fourth quarter and into the late in games, and that's college football, and that's the landscape that's changing, and that's what makes it so much fun.
Would you want us to go back to the Southwest Conference days where you knew who you were playing every Saturday? Can you still remember the order?
Yeah. It was cool. I mean, that's nostalgia, and that's part of, again, what makes college football cool. There's not a whole lot of nostalgia left.
No.
It's for college football has just been try to catch up as quickly as you can. But like I said, I think, with all the stuff that's happened to the game, to me, the most important thing has always been what's best for the players. You know what I mean? And I think, obviously, their ability to choose where they want to go to school, I think, is good for them. I'd like to see a little bit more of an emphasis on graduating and getting a degree, because I really believe that's important, and that's why they're all here. Obviously, being compensated is something that I think is a great step in the right direction. I think parity is a great step in the right direction. More parity in the league, it makes it harder as a coach. I can remember in the Big 12 in the early 2000s, half the teams you played had no chance to beat you. Half the teams. It didn't matter. You could go turn the ball over 5 times and beat some of those teams. Those programs were not very good. They weren't very competitive. They were just in the league. And man, it was nice to look at the schedule when the schedule came out and you said, okay, well, here's 8 wins right here. And you had 4 non-conference layups at that point. And then, go win 4 more games and it's a pretty good season. And so it's things are different now. It's just a different world. And like I said, I think it's great for the game of college football. I think it makes it more interesting. Certainly makes it more difficult as a coach, but I think it makes it more interesting as a fan and a follower of the game and somebody that loves college football. Okay, thank you guys.
I like our effort. I feel like all the guys that's on the field play together as one, and I think we're really tough.
Coach was talking about the third downs being kind of y'all's Achilles heel on defense. What are some of the things y'all can fix in that department to help y'all get off the field a little bit easier?
Yeah, we do amazing on first and second down. I think we just need to trust in our coach's game plan and really just go execute on third down to get us off the field, eliminate those long drives.
Is it the challenges of facing athletic quarterbacks that makes it a little bit tougher?
Of course, always a quarterback can be challenging because he has opportunity to use his legs, so we also have to account for it.
Their offense put up a lot of numbers this year. Is there anything that stands out about them on film?
You said offense? Yeah, offense. Of course, we compete against them every day. It's expected of them. We know they're going to put up points. It's our job to get stops.
Coach Dykes was saying that this is the best skill position players y'all played against that Baylor has. Can you just talk about, what you see in them and how skillful they are?
Yeah, they have a lot of skilled players. Of course, we played them last year, came up a short. So this year, we got fighting to go 1-0.
Austin, coming out of Denton, obviously you go down to Austin first and then come back here. How important was it kind of get back to home, and what does that feel like being there?
Coming back here to Fort Worth. It is more comfortable, space to live in, more familiar with everywhere. Of course, I got closer family members and friends, so it's nice.
Was your patience ever tested through this whole process, going to Texas for 2 years, then coming here to TCU, before you really got your opportunity? Was your patience tested and had you?
I wouldn't say my patience was tested. I know how to stay down and come up, be humble, a humble guy. When my opportunity presents itself, I take advantage.
When you were leaving Texas, what stood out about TCU?
TCU, every time I played them at Texas, it was always a hard-fought game. 22, they beat us by like 1 point, and 23, it was another close game. So I know they always gonna stay together as a team and compete.
An Avalos system, is that something that interested you as well?
Yeah, it was. It's especially different from Texas. I love the defense now. I'm glad I came.
What do you do to hang out? Like, you're this close to home on the weekends, things like that, when you get some downtime?
I really just be chilling. I'm a pretty chill guy. I'm in the crib most of the time. Not really doing too much.
Who's got the best high school program in Denton, Ryan or Guy?
Ryan, for surely.
Anything else?
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Arthur. Jordan, you fully adjusted to Texas? You like it?
Yeah, definitely love it down here. Weather's great. That's the main thing. Weather's a lot better. Food's a lot better. More choices to pick from. So yeah, I'm loving it.
What have your teammates kind of told you about this rivalry and how much you think it's to the guys here?
I mean, we talked about it today in the meeting. It's a really big deal. It's a big deal to the fans. It's a big deal to us. We got a chance to go get all 3 of the trophies. So I mean, it's a great rivalry, and we're excited.
What are you seeing from their defense?
Their coverage scheme is a bit similar to last week. They got some good defensive players on the back end, but it should be got a good game plan going in. Should be good.
Talk about the difference between Big 12 defenses as opposed to what you saw in your previous stop.
The D line is a lot bigger. I'll say that's the main difference. D line's a lot bigger, more depth. So yeah, that and more depth is the main difference.
How did you get on the same page with Josh so quickly? It looks like, especially early in the season, we saw it against Carolina. How did you guys kind of build that bond at the start?
Really, the first week I got here, we started throwing routes, getting catches in together, just building that throughout the spring ball, throughout workouts. After workouts, we would get catches in, run routes, and then obviously through the summer, fall camp. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty smooth. Hoover's a great dude, awesome quarterback, great guy to get in the lab with, so it was pretty easy to get on the same page with him.
What type of leadership has Eric shown in that wide receiver room?
Oh, Eric's a great leader, amazing leader, man. He's the oldest dude in the room. He's seen a lot of things. Me and him, we both played a lot of football, but, excellent leader. That's my best friend on the team, so great leader, great dude.
You guys had another receiver join the 100-yard club in a game this year with Ed having a big game. What were your thoughts on him having that game?
Oh, I mean, he deserves it. Ed's a hard worker. He's a great dude. Everybody loves him around here. He does everything right, catches the ball well, and as a young dude, too, as a freshman. So it was great to see him have a big game.
How much pride do you guys as a receiver group taking when a guy like that has and like yourself, you had a 100-yard game, Eric's had one, Joseph's had one, y'all had some good games. What kind of pride do y'all carry when y'all have that accomplishment?
Oh, I mean, we expect it for ourselves. We pride ourselves in that. We expect it for ourselves. When the ball comes our way to make big plays and make our opportunities. So whoever gets in the game, they could go for 100. I mean, anybody in this receiver room is very talented. So we expect it from everybody.
What's it been like just learning from Coach Corey Coleman?
Oh man, it's been amazing. Coach Kelly and Coleman, they've taught me countless things since I've been here. From work ethic to technique to how to catch the ball, everything, being physical. So, I mean, I've learned a ton of things from those guys. Obviously he won the Blitnikoff, so that dude has a bunch of game to give. So it's been great.
Do you come from the hardest to pronounce hometown on the team, you think?
Yeah, I might. I think Puyallup, Washington, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, pretty much everybody I meet who's not from that area doesn't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. You get a bunch of different pronunciations of it.
Who's got a better state fair, Washington or Texas?
I haven't been to the Texas State Fair, so I'll have to check that out and report back to you on that one. But Washington State Fair is pretty good, and it's right there in Puyallup. So, yeah, I mean, it's like 2 minutes from my house.
When you were coming out of high school, what other, you had to buy, what was the recruiting process like?
It was really slow for me, honestly. That was around the COVID time. So I really only had, like, Portland State, Idaho State. Those were really my only offers. University of Washington offered me the day before signing day. I had never visited there or anything, even though it's like 40 minutes up the road. So, yeah, it was really slow. I was disappointed. I knew what kind of player I was. I had the tape, I had the film, I had everything. So it was a bit disappointing, but I knew that I was going to go into wherever I went, go play off the rip as a freshman and go prove it. So.
You mentioned a lot more food options here, but is there anything about Puyallup that you miss?
I was referring to Moscow for the food options, but in Puyallup, I would say the sushi for sure. Trappers, that's a good place down there. They got some good sushi. That's probably the main thing that I miss. You right on the water over there, so it's fresh.
Would you rather play in the Kibby Dome or Raymond Carter Stadium?
Oh, in the Carter, come on.
You're in Ranger country. Are you a big Mariners fan?
I'm not a big baseball guy, honestly, but my family is. So, got some family who loves the Mariners, but I'm not a big baseball guy myself. Thank you, guys.